All right, what up, y'all? Welcome to episode 60 of Stock Talk with Josh and
Niko Kritikos.
Niko. What's up, bro? How you been?
Oh, I've been good. Haven't done a podcast in a long time, but that's okay. I'm happy because we got Trump winning the election. We got stocks going up, and everything is good.
Now, it ain't been too long as like our usual.
It feels like it's been a while, at least 2 weeks this time, at least.
I think about a month. I think because what month is it? November? I say late September we did
Yeah.
an episode. I'd say late September. But yeah, cool. We back and better than ever, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, so it is a lot of big news. We already brought up the election, so we're going to save that a little bit later to the end. We might have a guest show up, so Chuck Poland, I think if you watch the show, Chuck been like a guest for us like 3 times.
I don't know about that many, but yeah.
And a friend of the show and also a friend of the station here at WJLB, but let's first get started with this topic. So the first topic, this is kind of older news, but the Nike CEO, former CEO, John Donahue?
Who knows? Donahoe.
Steps down after the stock is down 24% on the year for reported decline in sales. Soon as he leaves, the stock rose up 9% after hours. And then now the new guy named Elliot Hill, he's been kind of around for a long time as already a Nike executive.
Okay.
So how you feeling about him stepping down, Nike get somebody new?
What I can say is that since Nike has been struggling now, I think they have nothing to lose, right? Put in a different executive and see if he can turn things around, because I feel like ever since Nike came out with that agreement where they were not going to go through Foot Locker anymore, decisions like that have not helped out this company at all.
And I think that, and like the main thing with Nike is their shoes. Like, especially with the Jordans releases, the hype has died down a lot.
Yeah.
Like 10, maybe more years ago, people were like dying over Jordans and Mikes and all of that.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of them, the new releases, you can get them whenever. It's like there's no resale price.
There's no hype to it. Yeah.
So there's no and then I would say, bro, at that same time, that's when I sold my Nike stock. So
yeah,
I'm going to talk about a little bit more how I have been in a selling mood recently, but I bought Nike a couple months ago when it's like at 82. It dropped down to like in the 70s, and when it rose back up to 82, 83, I just sold it.
Right now, Nike stock is trading at 21 times earnings, which is pretty much the cheapest it's been in 10 years. So this is a great price to be buying Nike stock at.
Yeah, so like I said, I sold it at 82, but I think buying it now around that, what's it, $74, $76 range that it is now would be a good time to buy in. Because I think Nike should be like $100 and like $110 stock
at least 120, I think.
Yes. So what's that? 75.
75.
Let's say 76.
Yeah, 76. Mm-hmm. Down 30% on the year and down 15% in the last 5 years. What a bad. If you invested in this in 2021, what a bad investment.
All right, and you got anything else?
No, that's
Nike?
it.
Okay, yeah. So the next topic, I said this stuff is kind of old because what I put in like right after
I'm sure.
last show.
I know. That's what I was thinking.
So older news though was the market ended up rallying after the Fed cut rate was announced.
Yeah.
So I know last episode what's that 59?
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Powell dropping the rate cuts and all of that. The market ended up rallying after that.
Yeah.
So my quick question is: how long do you think? Well, the entire year the market has been kind of going up.
Yep.
How long do you think this is going to last?
Not long. I think the market is due for at least a 10% dip. And on a PE basis, I believe it's trading at almost 30 times earnings, which is historically for the last couple decades, 30 times earnings for the index is extremely rich. The only time we've seen that is a couple years ago. And what happened a couple years ago? We had a huge crash and the market came down. So that's what I think is going to happen sometime in the next couple months. We've been lucky. We've gotten a lot of good news. Obviously, investors were really happy about Trump getting elected. And the Fed has been cutting rates, so that's been helping too. But at some point, the sentiment has to die down a little bit, and we kind of have to have a healthy market and let things come back to a healthier valuation.
Did I tell you what I think is going to happen sometime next year, 2026?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
A depression, let me guess.
Well, not depression, but recession.
You always have some extreme
I do think it's going to be a recession. I do think it's going to be a recession.
I don't know about that.
Now, the Fed's been talking about, like, soft landing a lot, and soft landing, I'm like, why we need a soft landing?
Well, okay, because they don't want a hard landing. What I watched I watched a video that was talking about so in the past Trump has said that he was like, why did Obama get low interest rates? He pretty much told the Fed that you're making it hard on me because you have higher interest rates, right? So I think Trump's going to be harder on them now and saying he's going to tell Jerome Powell, like, I want low interest rates, like be more aggressive with the rate cuts so that this economy can start, getting better. And so I think we're going to see that Trump's going to put pressure on the Fed to keep cutting rates. And I think the Fed will do it. Really, I think they will do it because I don't know. I just think
All depends on how inflation's going, though. But yeah,
yes, it does. It does. But I don't know. The economy and understanding how all that stuff works is so complicated because there's always a up and down thing to it. There's always one good thing happens and then one bad thing happens. It's very hard to predict how things are going to play
you're
out.
right about that. Next thing, Uber and Lyft
Oh,
partner
yeah.
with robo taxi companies.
Yes.
So y'all ever seen like Back to the Future, like Part 2? Now, like how
yes.
in 2015, all the new stuff we would have like.
Oh yeah.
It looked like it's gonna be like more so 2030, basically.
Yeah, I know. Well, doesn't Back to the Future have? Don't they have flying cars?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not even close to that yet.
I mean, maybe 2050, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. So Uber and Lyft are partnering with companies to allow robotaxi cars to operate on their network, pretty much, because ever since Tesla came out with that news that now that the self-driving software is ready and they're going to have robotaxis, Uber and Lyft has to do something to keep up with that, and so that's why they're doing this. I saw they're partnering with multiple different companies, and so I mean Lyft has been struggling. I think Uber has 75% market share in this industry, so I mean they both need to keep up though, because by the time Tesla,
can they just combine, like, or does that be like a monopoly or whatever?
well, I don't know if they would do that. I feel like they're huge enemies. That would be like Ford and GM combining. I don't know if that
That's
would happen.
different, though.
Not really.
That's different though.
I don't know if that would happen.
It's two different industries: car industry and self-service.
It's two different industries,
service.
but I'm saying they dominate the industry. Like they're the main two players. Like who else are you going to use for Uber or Lyft? Like it's just taxis and stuff. Like there's no like they're the two big players. And now we have Tesla as a player. I guess you can say Waymo, but I think Waymo is one of the companies that was partnering with Uber anyways. So I mean Tesla's going to be able to allow that when you have no driver in the car, you're going to be able to. It's going to allow for much cheaper rides.
Facts.
So Tesla's going to drive the price down lower, and they're probably going to take out a lot of the business for Uber and Lyft. And Lyft is already struggling. That's something I talked about in my analysis video last week, is like how do you become you become the number 2 player, and if you're doing billions of dollars of revenue, how do you still struggle to make a profit? You know, that's what I feel like it's a bad business model if you make $5 billion, but you can't profit $1. So those are my thoughts on it.
I mean, they do got like a lot of costs though. And how many people use Uber?
A lot. Most people, 75%.
Really?
I think that's the number.
I think I probably count on one hand how many times I use the Uber.
Oh, not me. There, 76% market share. Lyft has 24. Uber has 149 million active users. You see, so Lyft has been they've been way down.
Yeah,
Lyft's got some work to do.
Yeah, that might be my ignorance though, because I can count on one hand how many times I use Uber or Lyft. It might just be once or twice.
Well, I've done it. I mean, if you go on vacation or something somewhere, if you go to another city and you don't have a car,
I'll get a rental.
I've done. Okay, well.
But I don't go on vacation a lot though.
Yeah.
Last time I went on vacation was like Disney World, Orlando, had a rental.
Yeah, so I mean, I even tried to factor in like if you take out the driver, how much money does that save you? And I'm pretty sure Uber is paying the drivers, I want to say roughly half of the money. It's either 40 or 60%, something like that. So that means your profitability is going to go up 2x almost. So Tesla's going to be able to offer rides for almost half the price. And I don't know, I think
a couple years ago they had some bad press. Uber, I think. Well, Uber a little bit more stronger because they got the Uber Eats stuff too, compared to Lyft. Does Lyft do like any type of food thing?
No, I don't think so. No, they don't. Mm-hmm. So that's what we got for Uber and Lyft. Then,
yeah. So I have been in, like I said recently, just earlier. I've been in the selling mood. So I've been selling a lot of stuff.
What have you been selling?
So Nike. Let me all see. So Nike also sold my other stock that I had, GTE, Grand T. It's kind of like a penny stock, so I really don't count that. I made money though.
Okay, good. Some money on it.
So I've been selling.
Becoming a wiser investor with time.
I know. But yeah, I'm just saying, I've been the kind of one to sell stuff because I think a market crash is coming. So that's why
What makes you think that?
It's just, I don't know. I think it's just time.
You just feel it?
I just think it's just time.
Yeah.
Like it's just been on too much of a high this past year or so.
Yep.
Something got to go down.
Yep. That's right.
That's why I think the recession might be on the way, 2025, 2026.
Well, see, I don't think that's realistic.
I mean,
I think what we went through in 2022.
If you ask a lot of people now, we already in a recession.
Yeah, but that's
A lot of people in corporate, like think of the tech industry. They basically have been in a recession this past year. If you think about the tech industry and some more industries, they kind of are already
sure,
in a
but
recession.
the GDP has to go down for at least 2 quarters for it to be a recession. That's what a not a depression. That's what a recession is. So we had negative GDP growth in 2020. Since then, we have not. We have not had. We're not in a recession.
So let me ask you something.
We had a recession in 2020. I mean, I guess technically, I guess you could say that. But no, we're actually on the up from 22 to 23. We had more GDP growth, and I'm telling you, now that the Fed's cutting rates, and that we have Trump in office, this is going to push this up higher.
But hi, Chuck's here. Hi, I'm Chuck.
Friend of the show. We all know Chuck.
Okay, so after Uber and Lyft, we have Tesla reaching over $300 a share now, over a $1 trillion market cap, and that is because of several things. One is a small thing is that the Cybertruck is now going to be for sale in Canada. Trump got elected, which we're going to get more into that later, but that obviously is going to help out Elon Musk and his companies. And then we have those are really the Trump thing is the main reason, but Tesla also has good numbers coming out, so that's helping too.
I will say I've been seeing those Cybertrucks out.
Yeah, I see them all over too. Yeah.
Well, and the funny thing about that is, so he actually he had people and they put on a deposit for years. There's people that waited like 2 years for this thing. And there was a concern that once they met that demand, like I'm downtown there's a Tesla office there every week. There's like a whole truck of Tesla showing up. The concern was once they worked through that backlog that nobody would want them anymore. And there's also, again, going back to the election, Biden was pushing EVs, and now this idea that we're not going to have this EV mandate. Imagine, we talked about this before, like California have this EV mandate. It's like, well, I got to do something by 2035 or whatever it was.
But see, I don't think that means that they're going to take away the tax credit. I don't know if it would go that far.
No, and I especially considering Musk will be there. He's not going to let Trump take, because remember, Elon makes more money off of the credits, like the carbon credits, than he did like selling cars. I don't know if that's still the case. He made so much money on these carbon offset credits. So I mean, that was a big part of the business. It's a whole part of the EV. But one of the arguments I always have is, if you're an EV fan, you're looking at Tesla. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever ridden a Tesla. I rented one for a weekend. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
So I mean, the idea of Elon being the EV guy makes sense. Ford going all EV, or Porsche, or whoever, all these guys had these mandates, like the EU and stuff. So all these German car manufacturers, like, we got to go all in on EV. And then all of a sudden we're like, okay, we're pulling back on that. So they were stuck in the situation where it was like, do we continue to make internal combustion, or do we start working on EV? Because it's a big shift, right? Yeah. And so now with that uncertainty, like Trump's won, there's not going to, the EV mandate should be paused. If you want an EV, Elon will get you an EV. If you want to buy a regular old Ford with an internal combustion or a hybrid, which I think is a great solution for a lot of people, you know what I mean?
But
so
that's
going
how
to make it a little bit. The market will decide, which is how it's supposed to be, right?
Right, and that's how it should be, because it's been a little bit too extreme with mandating EVs.
Government being extreme? No, that never happens. Making extreme decisions that aren't good for us? No, that
well,
never
it was just too quick of a thing to think that we were going to just all snap to driving electrical vehicles within a couple of years.
Right, and that's sort of the way that government works. So as I always say, the only way we're going to get you to do what we want is just to mandate it and push you to do it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing, is that's one of the things that government likes to do, is they're like, hey, here's this mandate. You got 10 years. And then I remember there are mandates that come out, and people are like, the technology doesn't even exist to do this. Like, well, you better figure it out. You got 10 years. I mean, and that pushes us.
And it's not one of the big reasons for the EV push is for the environmental reasons, and it's not even perfect in that factor either, right? So I don't know. Maybe it's an improvement, but I think a lot of people do not want EVs, and how you said hybrid is probably a better option.
Yeah,
for
and
a lot
anybody
of
I
people.
talk to that comes from, I have family in the electrical engineering field, and they're like, it doesn't make sense. I mean, even the idea of, imagine everybody in your neighborhood came home at 5 o'clock and plugged in their car.
Yeah.
I mean, even now, like in California and stuff, they have all these issues where, like, when it's hot, they have all these, they have rolling brownouts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine a world where everybody in your neighborhood came home at 5 o'clock and plugged in this thing that sucks more juice than their entire house.
That's what I get scared though too. Like, say out here there's a bad snowstorm and the lights go out.
But I mean, there's also neat features though, because there are people that, like, even now after the hurricane and stuff, you could run your house off of your Tesla.
Yeah.
So,
I
mean, there's neat features to be had.
Kind of like
because you can basically run your car. can power your house. You can actually flip the
'Cause
switch.
it's a
and go the other
battery.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can go the other way and power your fridge and your sump pump off of your car, and your car won't let it drain so far that it's dead. But I mean, again, that could. I mean, I've had situations.
That's cool.
So I mean, there is value there. And again, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm always on the fence because I'm like, I can see the value there.
Yeah, me too.
But I also don't want government to say, hey, by this date you have to go EV, because that's not the
No,
way
and
it
I
should
mean
work.
the whole like lithium battery thing. So it's supposed to last roughly 8 years. It costs like what, $30,000 to replace it.
So it can cost about 15
Yeah,
on
about
average, like
14,
15 to 15,000 plus installation. You might be looking at upwards of $20,000. But look
Yeah.
at like the idea of, is anybody going to buy a used Tesla? It's like, hey, this is
No.
It's not like an engine. Like, my car just got 300,000 miles, right, on the original engine. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes you get 100 before you have problems. With a Tesla, with a battery, you know it's going to go bad at this date. So that's one of the problems with EVs is they have this huge depreciation. Because why would I buy a 6-year-old or 8-year-old Tesla?
Because they're way cheaper.
Because, well, right.
No,
why
but
is it?
still.
Why is it cheaper? Because at some point I'm going to get an alarm on my dashboard that
Yeah.
says you have to buy a new $15,000 battery. So
Yeah.
that's something that, on average, we don't plan. Even if you have to replace your engine, it's like $4,000 or $5,000, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, the average person doesn't have 15 grand sitting aside to just buy a new battery for their car.
Yeah, people like their transmission go out. That's like
That's
that's it.
$12,000,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah. Well, we'll
But
see.
I don't know. It's just so like the Teslas, like they look inside look cool, but I don't know. They're
I know.
ugly to
Well, there's
me.
the whole thing about the Cybertruck. Everybody's like, it's ugly. It's like, ride it and you'll change your mind. Everybody that I
Oh,
know
really?
that's ever gotten inside one, like, this is the
Yeah,
best ride I ever had.
Hmm.
And the Tesla, I mean, like, even I played a little bit with. I've not tried full self-driving, but I mean, even how I was in Miami. I'd never been in Miami. I was on I-95, like, crazy place to. It's like going to Chicago and not knowing your way around. It was so much easier with the Tesla. The Tesla knew, like, hey, you got to cross 4 lanes soon, and it's like go, you know. So the Tesla, compared to a normal car without GPS, it made my time in an unfamiliar city so much better.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it really did.
I just think I'm like in a minority because I care like I'm more into cars than like most people. Like I care more about the look, the sound, even.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
well,
like
it's
I
funny.
like people switch those SUVs. I miss the V6, V8 sedans.
Well, that's
four-door
the funny
sedans
part,
so
though.
much.
Some of the EVs, some of the new EVs have like speakers. They make the sound of, like, that's just silly.
Oh, really?
But you literally can have the noise in. I think it was Dodge or somebody, the Hellcat or somebody's
I think it's the Mustang.
Mach-E.
I think it's the
Mach-E,
Mustang.
yeah. So I mean, literally, it can make the sound of, like, pretending that you have an internal combustion.
But how you said, like, those companies like Ford, they started backtracking and said, we're not actually going to go through with the
because
EV
there was
thing.
right, there was a huge expense for them but it
Yeah.
also was the government was mandating it. So it's like, we have no choice. California, being one of the biggest states and one of the biggest markets, is going EV.
Yeah.
As was, was it Washington State or Oregon or whoever it was, and Illinois had talked about it, New York talked about it. So it's like, hey, if I don't make EVs by this date, I'm losing these markets.
Yeah.
So they had no choice. And then also there's a whole big question about hydrogen is a really interesting technology.
yeah.
I mean, even like
Yeah.
imagine, let's say
That's
you,
something that Toyota kind of been
Yeah,
focused more
Toyota.
into instead of like just EVs.
Right.
I think that's what Plug Power does, too. I just researched a stock. I think it's Plug Power, but
Plug Power.
one of those is a hydrogen player, too.
yeah, I think that's definitely, I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, having like a hybrid, having options. I can drive around town, plug in my car, but if I go on vacation, I don't have to worry about stopping every 3 hours for an hour or two. So it's nice to have some, some options.
And I think just the way we transition into it needs to be slower.
Right.
Like if we do it gradually and we wait 10, 20, 30 years and let people kind of decide on their own, that'll be a lot smoother.
Well, I think just having it out there, like Elon has, I don't know, 6%, 8% market share, whatever it was. That market share, I mean, the whole thing, even with the batteries, is like, I don't know if you followed, like, during the winter. These batteries do not do well in the cold. Charging does not do well in the cold. So it's like, hey, this is great, but we can't use it in,
It's the only one that looks nice to me.
is that the X?
No, that's
S.
Yeah.
I like the Model Y.
Well, I mean, even like, I don't know, have you driven one in ludicrous mode? When I was in Miami, I hit the ludicrous button. I was like, man,
Ludicrous?
the ludicrous button, not the rapper, the speed.
I got
but
you.
yeah, but no, I mean,
like it is faster
It
than like
is.
most of the.
I mean, the Tesla. What did the Tesla?
like, and
beat
it smokes like.
the Cybertruck beat a Porsche or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it is an amazing ride.
You like this for real?
Yeah.
Can't do it.
I mean,
mean,
the original one, the Roadster, was cool too.
I think
Roadster I like
I like
fine.
all of them, to be honest. I would say the Cybertruck is still weird looking. I wouldn't say it's bad. I'd just say it's weird looking compared to the other
Inside
ones.
look really nice.
But one of
Does
the
it?
problems you run into though is like the Cybertruck was $100,000.
Yeah.
The Tesla's 60, whatever it was. I
Yeah.
mean, again, it's unaffordable for the average person. So you've
Right.
got companies like Bid, you've got bid trying to get into this market with a $15,000 EV.
Yeah.
So Elon's got to look at it and go, hey, it's cool to make a $100,000 truck. Who can afford that? The average person can't.
And I still rather buy a new Escalade for that price.
Well, then they're going to be EV. I mean, like they're trying to go Hummer EV and stuff like that. Hummer was going to have the biggest battery in the class.
Yeah, I'd probably buy a pickup truck if I was going to get a car right now.
But again, okay, the Ford was making the electric F-150. It was $100,000. I mean, again, it's like same deal, like 80 or 100 grand. It's a cool truck, but can the average person afford it?
Mm-hmm.
Or you end up with, as I call it, the car mortgage. I mean, I was reading something the other day that 22 or 25% of people are underwater on their car loans. So you go and turn in a car, and you're still owing on it, and you're rolling it in, and then rates are still high. So you basically end up with like these 8-year, 10-year mortgages on your car. And then you have to throw in a $15,000 battery halfway through that. It's like you're paying on your car forever.
It's not realistic.
Yeah.
Okay, we already talked about why Josh is selling.
This is what we talking about. When I'm talking about I'm selling because I think the market's going to be going down.
Yeah.
Then I brought up
the
recession.
But did you guys already talk about this? While you're recording this, Bitcoin has hit an all-time high. Like in the last couple hours. So I mean,
oh, it did.
I think it just did.
79,000.
Yeah.
Or something.
So Bitcoin about 80,000, which is I think an all-time high. I could be wrong. I just looked at it, but so you've got Bitcoin at an all-time high. You got the market.
Ooh.
I should have waited.
So Bitcoin's at 80,000 as of right now.
120% on the year. That's crazy.
I should have waited because I saw it like 60.
It was 16 2 years ago. I was like, man, I was loading up on it.
It was 30 a year ago.
But
that's when I bought it, I think.
Here's my advice as somebody who's older than both you guys. Bitcoin's at all-time high. Market's an all-time high. Everybody's excited about Trump.
That means it's coming down.
This is going to be a rug pull. And this is what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't invest in the market. I'll just tell you personally, I pulled out, and I pulled out early. I'm like kicking myself because I'm like, good gains coming because it could have gone either way. I mean, and ultimately, we can get into Trump later, but I mean that victory was good for the markets because the idea is he'll have less regulation than Kamala would have because it would have been a continuation of the Biden administration. So everything's at an all-time high. You can be excited, but also be cautious.
But it's only going to last so long, pretty much.
Because it's been lasting too long already. I mean, and that's the thing is like, I get that feeling. I'm like, hey, this is great. I'm worried.
Like this entire year, it's been green for me, positive.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
But I mean, again, it's like, but here's the thing.
Lululemon.
What's are you guys watching Warren Buffett? What did he do? He's cashing out.
He's super heavy on cash. He has like 150 billion or something.
Because remember, this is the thing that, and again,
but he's been doing that for several years. That's nothing new, though.
Right? But again, I'm also on the opposite side. Like not financial advice because I'm always a pessimist. So I mean, I miss out.
Oh, that's not good.
I miss out on these. I mean, I made money on Bitcoin. I made money on the markets. But I'm saying I'm always on the other end going, hey, just be ready for a rug pull. And one of the things I was watching, like Ray Dalio. Check out Ray Dalio. He just posted something earlier, and he's been talking about these rug pulls for a long time. When people like Warren Buffett are backing off the market, he's not going to lose. He's not going to lose money, right? He knows what's going on. The joke is we should be watching Nancy Pelosi's portfolio right now. If she sells, like just
get
out.
out of there.
Okay, were you pessimistic at the end of 2022?
Well, and honestly, it was funny because I was predicting a rug pull over the summer, and I remember I was actually on vacation when we lost. I think the market corrected like 5% or something. I was on vacation. I'm like, here it goes. Like, it could go either.
Was it August?
It was. Yeah, it was.
The Nasdaq dropped 15%.
Was it 15%? That's what I'm saying. I mean, like it dropped quickly.
It was coming down. Yeah.
But also people.
Right there.
If you have money, you're buying the dip. So
July 16th it started. August 8th is when it bottomed.
So it was 15%. I mean, I think we lost 5% a day. Like when I was on vacation. I think it was my birthday. Yeah, so it was like that August 6th. But that's the thing is that in that case, look what happened. We bought right back in.
Right.
So everybody bought the dip.
But I think for at least the next year or two, I think we're only going to get drops that are no bigger than that. I think that's the biggest we're going to get because
I am.
That's 100% true.
I am predicting that I feel like by election day or shortly thereafter, we're going to have a 10% correction.
Sure, 10% is. I agree.
I'm looking at a time, and again, but it could go either way. It could be the domino effect of, if the banks fail or a sector fails. If there are failures, I was reading about 2008 about how it was sectors were failing. And we talked about the banking sector. We had issues with banking a few months ago.
Well, we were just talking about the tech sector this
The
past
tech
summer.
sector was doing really well. The tech sector's been, I mean, even the idea of the AI bubble reminded me of the dot-com bubble. And if you guys don't, I mean, again, just take time to educate yourself as investors. Like what caused the 2008 crash? What caused the dot-com bubble? What caused the 29?
Yeah, but
crash?
we're not as extreme as we were in the dot-com bubble. The dot-com bubble was more extreme. We were super overvalued.
I
that year.
mean, I feel like we're really overvalued right now.
We are.
But I mean,
Here.
it's not to say, hey, once you hit this number of overvaluation, it's going to crash. It's
No.
to say these are, and again, when you watch these guys that are pessimists, they say these are the conditions that could. It's kind of like when there's like we're talking about Californian fire. Like here's the conditions that could lead to a massive forest fire.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean there's going to be one, but these are the conditions that open the door for this to happen.
Okay, look. There's 2008. There's 2000. Here's us now.
Right.
See, so we're not
But
even.
again, you're approaching like the 2000s.
We are.
So you're approaching an overvaluation.
100%.
But again, market's an all-time high. Bitcoin's everything. Somebody was talking about this the other day. He's like when a cab driver is making all this money on Bitcoin, that's when you should be worried because everybody's like making free money right now. Everybody's just like throwing money at the market, going, "Oh, it's free money." You know what I mean? Like that. Even like Doge and stuff like that. Doge up to a quarter now. So I mean, that's
someone just texted me and said, "I just made this amount of money off of Shiba."
that's what I'm saying. Dudes are messaging me going, "Look how much money I made."
That's exactly how it was in 2021.
That's when I'm telling you. I mean, I'm not saying go liquidate tomorrow, but I'm saying
Have
cautious.
some cash ready.
Be ready because the conditions are there for the market. The conditions are there for the market to run for 4 years, or the conditions are there for us to take a 20% hit overnight.
So you just got to weigh out your chances here. Which one is more realistic?
Right. And so in my case, I'm positioning myself to short the market going into the next 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
I don't expect that it's going to be long term. It might be a correction like in August.
Yeah.
But my expectation is when everything's at the top, that party can't go on forever.
Yeah.
So I would be ready. Again, just don't get into the hype of everybody's making free money. I'm just going to start throwing my whole paycheck into whatever Tesla stock. Just be in that position.
We've kind of had that already though happen for the last. We're pretty much going on 2 years. So from August, fall of 22 to now, we've gone from what $360 to $600.
Right, but
so we're approaching a 2x in 2 years.
Right, that should be scary.
Yeah,
that should scare you. That's not to say it can't keep going.
Coming off of a huge crash though, so that's where you have to kind of have to weigh your options of like what's justifiable, like what's the average.
But remember,
Where's that before the crash?
It was a quick correction because we bought back in. I mean, you look at entire decades of being down. We're up, 55% in a year. There are years where we're down 50% in a year, and it just kept going. It never ended. It's not like now we get this idea of like, oh, the market's down, everybody's going to buy the dip and it's going to correct. If people like Warren Buffett aren't sitting there ready to buy back in, if all the guys behind him are like, no, we're just sitting on cash, because that's remember is what corrects what when that market corrects is all these guys are sitting on the sidelines with cash going, hey, buy the dip, we're back in.
Well, the other thing
if they don't jump back in.
Okay, here's the other thing I was thinking though. I think there's a lot of money on the sidelines, right? Then you have to think about not only the inflation and all prices are inflated as of the last couple of years, right? So people have more money.
We're flattening out though.
Sure. But that's going to be a factor though going into the next couple of years. The other thing I think is that here, let's look up.
Oh, interesting chart.
So that's 2021. So see how it's been increasing for a while.
So Berkshire has been basically stashing more cash over the last few years.
Yeah.
But remember, again, while the market's going great, he's also going to this. He's putting money on the sideline. He's taking profit.
So he hasn't been buying until that huge crash in 22. Since that crash in 22, he's pretty much been going from $100 billion up to over $300 billion now.
In cash, right.
Yeah.
So, but again, he's in the market, but he's also – but that's the way that a lot of people, again, going back like a Ray Dalio, they go – imagine Warren Buffett, if he buys in, if there's a crash and he buys in at the bottom, he not only did he make that, he made basically double. He's making the recovery. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you put all that money into the market and all that money recovers. It helps recovery if you get the timing right. You make a bunch of money. And that's the whole point. I mean, that's the whole thing is these guys pulled out early. They said, we made a little bit of money. We're going to pull out. We're going to sit. We're going to wait for the correction, and we're going to buy back in.
You think if we have a correction, though, you think people wouldn't flood back in?
I mean, I don't think that it's going to be a quick, like a 2-day correction. I think it's going to be
maybe a couple of weeks.
Maybe a couple weeks.
Which is not that bad,
but it
really.
could keep going. But again, if everybody pulls out, that's when the market collapses. So I mean, again, we have circuit breakers in place, and you've got a lot of money, pension money, and things like that. So it's not like the Great Depression. But I don't think that it's going to. I don't think it's going to be that bad, but it can get bad really quick. Mm-hmm. But there's also a huge opportunity if you time it right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm normally optimistic. I think if we have
right, everybody is, and that's the problem. Everybody's optimistic until they look. Well, they see a sea of red one Monday.
No,
morning.
I'm not overly.
It's like a boxer. You think you're gonna win until you get like punched in the mouth.
Right.
First
no,
time?
I'm not.
It's all fun and games until you get punched.
I'm not overly optimistic.
Because a lot of people, like guys that are your age, you guys have not been through a crash before. You've not been through like the 80s, and
we've been through 2020 and 2022.
Yeah, but
like 2020 was different though.
Right, 2008, for instance.
No, we have not been through 2008.
2008, where all my friends were losing their houses and losing their jobs and stuff like that. Like you've not been through that before, and that's what I'm saying is that once you get through that, you will be a pessimist. You're like, okay, cool, I'm making money, but I'm ready for that party to end anytime.
Yeah, but then you wouldn't make any money if you were pessimistic. Because the market normally goes up.
I'm not right. You're right. It goes up until it doesn't. I'm not saying don't be in the market. I'm saying be ready for that correction. Don't have all your money in options hoping the market's going to go up 10% next month. You know what I mean? Like don't put all your money, all your eggs in one basket.
Hold on a second here.
Don't go all in on Bitcoin.
Here's another thing to consider. This is another bullish catalyst for the stock market. Is the bond market and the yields we have right now, and the way the Fed is acting, and the pressure that Trump is going to put on the Fed to more aggressively lower interest rates, that is going to make people put their money into things like the stock market or dividend stocks. Let's say they're going to be chasing a yield once our interest rates are down to 2% or 1%.
How many? Remember when Bitcoin? What did Bitcoin run, like 40,000, 50,000, whatever it was?
Yeah, around 45.
How many people do you know that bought at 45? I mean, a bunch of people I know. Like, hey, people are calling me, going, "Hey, what's this Bitcoin thing? I'm buying some," and then it crashed.
At what point?
I'm gonna tell you when I bought it. I bought it like around
45.
I bought it like around here.
Everybody was hearing about Bitcoin. Everybody was buying Bitcoin over here at 45. Right, and then what happened? Everybody was like, "Oh man, I got stuck buying Bitcoin at 45."
And that's why I wouldn't buy right here.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is that right? Why? Because Bitcoin is going to correct. Because all these people are going to take profits. Bitcoin's. They'll start taking profits probably by the end of the show. People will start taking profits. No joke.
I don't know. I know Trump has mentioned Bitcoin. I don't know if he has any plans or if he wants to implement this in anything specific. But I know that he is like supportive of Bitcoin.
Remember what I always told you from the very beginning? I said the only thing that can stop Bitcoin is the United States government. And if you had a government that looked at it as something that only drug dealers used for black market, if people that didn't understand the value in it were in charge, they're going to go after Bitcoin. I mean, there are countries that pulled the plug on Bitcoin like overnight. I forget who it was, like India or something. I forget who it was. China, a couple different countries. Just like the countries that pulled the plug on X, on Twitter. Like, this
is how you know Bitcoin's going to drop soon. Bitcoin hits 80,000, next stop 100,000.
Right. So you've got people right now that are moving money. Right now as we speak, there are people that are moving money to buy Bitcoin. I have friends text me right now, I'm going to buy half a Bitcoin.
Look at that market cap.
Right.
Look at that market cap. So in the last day, we've had 70 billion go into the thing. 1.6 trillion. That's insane.
That is something to be excited about, but it's also something to be optimistic about. I guarantee you this. I can almost guarantee you that 80,000 is the top. Might hit 81, might hit 82.
That's how I feel about Tesla stock right now.
It's going to be 72 in a few days.
So you brought up like the government already with Bitcoin. Do you ever think it might be somehow the official currency of a country at all?
Well, I mean, like for instance, is it who was it that
El Salvador?
El Salvador is big into Bitcoin. Yeah, but I mean, again, it makes sense as it really depends on this whole thing about the petrodollar and the American dollar. I mean, if the American dollar collapsed because our government messed with it so much, because we go from 35 trillion in debt to 75 trillion in debt to 100 trillion in debt. If we keep adding to our debt, if we keep making the dollar worthless, there are people that are going to. I mean, there are countries all over the world where they just walk around. They have American currency. You can go anywhere in the world. I mean, it's like you're not going to see. How often do you see foreign currency here? Almost never.
Never.
You go overseas, everybody's got American currency because it has a
Even
value.
Canada has like a different currency. No, that's right.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever seen like a Canadian.
Well,
but I'm saying anywhere you go, you will see American money until it's worthless, and they'll go, we don't trust America anymore. We need something else.
Right, and that they came out with that like a year ago or something. There was multiple countries. Russia said that, and then there was someone else. I forgot. There was a couple countries, but now Putin just backtracked that because Trump won. Now he says differently, which I'm gonna look that up right now.
Well, and
Russia and China have like their own currency that they made, right?
No, everybody has. I mean, yeah. I mean, there was also. They were pushing again. It all comes back to oil. Like the dollar is used for oil transactions and things like that. So that becomes the official currency. Just like when you fly, anywhere you fly in the world, they have to speak English. The pilot has to speak English. It's the official language.
Russia's Putin says he no longer wishes to dethrone the U.S. dollar as he reunites with buddy Trump.
His buddy Trump. I mean, I don't know where you found that article. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not.
What is?
But you're talking about like
I just typed in news.
The BRICS. I mean, yeah. So that's the whole thing. Is that think about how quickly American politics can shift. Like literally in a day.
Right.
You know, you're talking about this earlier. All the things that have happened. Like literally, it's like, oh, Trump won. Everything shifts.
Yeah, but even look at the House? Completely flipped.
They're both red.
Yeah, they're
the House
red.
and the Senate are red
for the next 2 years, and then it will flip because again, this is how America works. We always the further left we go, the further right we go, the further left we go. So chances are he has about 18 months to get. So all these people that are worried about Trump, he's got 18 months, and if he doesn't get any of that stuff done, then he's done. That's it. That's his presidency. So he's really going to be under pressure for the next 18 months to get stuff done. And again, we have a giant bureaucracy. He's not going to get a lot done.
So 2016, because I remember this happened the first time he won. 2016, House and Senate was red.
Yep.
And then 2018,
House and Senate red.
I don't know.
I think it went blue, but I mean that's usually what happens is that you have a Republican president. You get 2 years and then it flips blue because again Americans can't make up their mind.
No, this says Senate was still red after 2018.
Well,
election.
the Senate, but look at the House. Was the House went blue?
House is blue.
The House went yeah. So
it actually is tied. No,
okay.
No. After 2018 election, Democrats 235.
But it's okay. So they gained though. That's traditionally what
happens. And Republicans lost.
Yeah. So I mean, again, everything went red this time. In 2 years, it'll go blue, or they'll gain. Whatever.
So he's got 2 years to really get some stuff done.
But I mean, realistically, it's like 18 months. So he's got like 18 months to get stuff done, and then the things will go blue, and then that'll be back to the stalemate. So.
Yeah.
What's next on your list?
After Bitcoin, we got Toyota and Honda. What do you know about that?
Oh yeah, both their profits dropped. So the last couple months, I've been saying, Toyota's doing well because they focus more on hydrogen instead of EVs and all that, and not sure why, but the profits did drop. I think last week it showed.
Here, I'd like to add a stock on here. A couple stocks, actually.
I think they dropped down like 6% this past week, too, Toyota.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not a very high growth stock, in my opinion. Yeah,
but I would say Toyota's one of the more reliable companies. So like we all know, like
I agree with that.
We look at luxury like Mercedes, BMWs. Everyone's like, oh, it's gonna mess up after 100,000 miles or whatever. A lot of people Toyotas, they got like 250 miles.
Oh yeah,
almost to 3, and they're still going.
They're gonna go.
Okay, what do you guys think about Estee Lauder? Is this stock coming back? Because look how much it's dropped from.
I think about old people.
Really?
I agree.
I think about
really?
old
I agree.
So does that mean that they're gonna? It means coming back or what? Because look at the stock.
So you're basically saying that is a brand that older ladies use and younger people. I mean, like I was at Target yesterday. We were looking at stuff. Everything was like the Taylor Swift collection and the J-Lo collection. There's no Estee Lauder.
Kim Kardashian.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Is that
so? Don't buy the stock.
No, I wouldn't.
Okay, what about?
Look at the trend though. Look at the trend. I would definitely. I'd be red flags all over that.
So okay, here's the way I look at it. So 370 down to 63, right?
Jesus.
Now here's the thing. So the stock has completely fallen like crazy. But if we look at the money they make. So right now they're struggling with China, and I think that was their big thing.
There's an interesting thing to talk about American brands that are popular in China. Like we were talking about how Buick was really popular in China, and like it was an old people car here. So again, you have products. There was a time that everybody's like, oh, I want, Levi's or whatever. Everybody in Europe, they couldn't get Levi's. It was like, bring jeans when you go to Europe and stuff like that. So there's this whole idea about there's American brands that had a lot of brand loyalty outside this country. But I think when that falls off, you've got, the old ladies here, and then you've got the brand loyalty in other countries. So if that's falling off in other countries, then the brand's done.
Not a good sign?
No.
So last 10 years, this is the lowest amount of income they've made, $200 million when they're normally doing, $1.5 billion. So that's why I feel like if they show any improvement here with their net income, then the stock can jump up.
But again, what is it going to take? So what's going to take for think about, they're a brand where their customers are dying off, essentially, like the newspaper.
True,
their customers are dying off. Has Estee Lauder signed with J-Lo or Kim Kardashian? I don't think so.
No.
Unless they sign some big deal with Taylor Swift, their market share is just going to
But if that happens, the stock probably be up 30%.
Yeah, but you're going to miss that ride. You're going to wake up one day, it's going to be up 30%.
But
you're assuming that they have enough forethought to put all of those people are wrapped up in contracts. So who's left?
It's too late. Yeah.
Who's left?
Okay.
The Nancy Pelosi collection or something.
And you're right. If you wanted to wait till good news came around, you would miss it, right? But the way I look at it too is, this stock is pretty much priced as if it's done forever, right?
And it could be, or they could recover. I mean, you're right. But again, that's always the gamble you take. But here's the question: is you have a finite amount of money to put into the market. Why would you put money into a stock that has no good fundamentals right now? Why would you not just put that money in Tesla?
It's a turnaround play.
But again, why would you take that risk?
Tesla? Oh no, you can't do that. You'll lose money on Tesla right now.
I'm saying, why would you put your money? There's so many. Who was I looking at? Sezzle. You know who Sezzle is?
I just did a video on that the other day.
I mean, again, everybody heard of Sezzle, and this is that big mistake.
The stock's insane.
So do you know what Sezzle is? Sezzle is the Make4 Payments company.
Look at the stock in the last year.
Oh, so like Klarna, whatever.
So it's basically like this, and all they do is you make 4 payments.
Yeah,
and
you kind of like an app.
You finance your Starbucks or whatever.
Yeah.
And you've heard of that company. Like, why didn't I buy stock in them? Because again, everybody's financing everything.
Yeah.
So again, it's something like that. Like, why would you not look for stocks like that?
Yeah.
Why would you put your money in Estee Lauder? It's a loser. You've got stocks that their fundamentals are looking good. Well, I mean, this is overvalued. I understand, but I'm saying there are so many companies that have a good outlook. Why would you put your money in Estee Lauder? They don't have a good outlook.
Yeah, I mean, because normally the way it goes is if the company is struggling, the valuation's cheap, and if the company is doing really good, the valuation's expensive. So, and Warren Buffett has always said he'd rather overpay for a quality company than underpay for a losing company.
And I'm saying there's nothing that tells us Estee Lauder is fundamentally a quality company. There's nothing to tell us that they have something on the horizon. I mean, maybe you know something I don't, but I don't see anything on the horizon for them.
You could argue that they've been making over $1 billion for multiple.
And now they don't anymore. So the question is, are they going to recover or are they not? You're playing.
You said they made 200. What's the
only 200 million in the last 12 months?
So this is what we call like a binary option of basically like you're betting on them recovering, but what does the trend say? I mean, I always say the trend. People always say the trend is your friend. If this company is trending down, there's nothing that tells us it should recover.
How many giant corporations? Even if how many giant corporations don't turn things around?
I can name 100 of them. I mean, I can name 100 companies that didn't turn around, that never gained back their market share because they were. I mean, pick Sears.
Okay, yeah, there's a couple. There's a very small.
There are
Sears.
Plenty of companies that never recover. There's plenty of companies that went out of business. I mean, even like we were talking about, the 2008 or 2000. I mean, you know how many .coms there were? That there was jokes about literally they were like that you could get like they had toilet paper stock options, like somebody was just handing stock, and they all went away.
But not like startups.
Amazon.
That's why I'm saying established billion-dollar corporations, not startups. This is a company that's proven they've been around for.
I would just say if I had money, that's not at all a stock I would think.
Okay, and I understand that. Here's my second one. What about this one? Similar thing.
My opinion on Dollar General is that it is.
Wait, didn't you buy that like 2 something?
Did I buy it?
Again, I look at the trend on this and I go, this is not. I mean, look at that trend compared to any other stock right now. That is not a trend that I like because I think Dollar General is
getting killed by Walmart.
They're getting killed, but they are in a position where they got into a lot of debt. Their revenue is good.
Revenue's
their revenue
good.
is good, but I also think they got into a lot of debt building Dollar Generals in every corner.
Sure.
So, I mean, but look, and even look at their income is down.
Yeah.
It should be going up. But again, you look at the fundamentals on that. The trend, I look at a trend going this. I mean, my trend says, until you show me otherwise, this trend is continuing down.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard for a grocery store not to like make revenue.
But also, you look at our disposable income. At the end of the day, this goes back to why is AMC losing money? You know what I mean? Like, no matter what AMC does, and it's not them, it's that we don't have money to go to the theater, right? I mean, that's
Me
the
and
thing.
Josh go to the theater
Well, the rest of us-
only when it's $6 though.
Well, what I'm saying is that the average person isn't going to the theater. We're waiting to see it on Netflix for free or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the whole thing is that AMC, it would be very hard for AMC to turn around right now. It has nothing to do with them. It has to do with that fundamental shift.
So-
And I love
Okay,
AMC.
so in other words, you don't believe in buying a turnaround
No.
thing.
Okay, I did buy a turnaround. You know what it's called? H.H. Gregg, the appliance company. And I thought for sure they were going to turn around, and they went bankrupt, and I lost thousands of dollars. So, I mean, again, and they declared bankruptcy, so I got to write that off. But, again, I was like, H.H. Gregg, there's literally one in Highland. There's one in Maryville. There's no
Yeah.
way they're going out of business. Guess what? They went out of business. And now there's, they're gone.
So in
Or
other
like
words,
a bookstore or whatever. You look at, this is a big name. How can they go out of business? And then one day they do.
so in other words, so you more so believe that as long as that trend is going upwards, that you're willing to pay almost any valuation.
No, I
for
would
that.
look at the valuation. I would also look at, like you said, if you miss out on that run, like I'm saying, Bitcoin. I would not go buy Bitcoin right now today because you look at that trend.
Okay, what about this stock?
Chipotle is a perfect example of that. I was kicking myself because they had a salmonella scare.
In 2016.
Yeah.
Was it in 20?
That was a long time ago.
Find it on the chart. Well, again, that's my horizon.
That was right there. That was a long time ago.
So no, it was right
2015.
here. It was like so. The scare was right around here.
Yeah.
If I would have bought in during, again, everybody else,
$6.
everybody else was jumping out of Chipotle.
Mm-hmm.
If you would have jumped in right there, what would have happened? You would have made what?
10x.
10x your money. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Is
In 7 years, 6
So-
years.
but again, fundamentally, they were a company that they had bad news, but the company
Bad
was fundamentally long term was sound.
You see, yeah. So exactly. So,
So
how
I mean,
do you,
I don't see Estee Lauder as being fundamentally sound because I think their brand. Because people were going to go back to Chipotle. I don't see people going back to Estee Lauder. I think they're all dying.
Okay, wait. But so fundamentally sound would still include them having that E. coli outbreak and them losing sales.
Right, but they recovered from it.
But how is that strong fundamentally?
Because the company fundamentally, it was something that happened that was out of their control. So they had bad news.
Was it
Remember,
out of their control?
Yeah, because it was like bad lettuce or something,
Yeah.
and it wasn't them. It was their
Okay, I
providers.
guess
It's kind of the same thing
So-
that's going on with McDonald's, like their quarter. I think it's like something with the lettuce or something.
Well, even the French fry people are going out of business and stuff like that. So, but again, it's a fundamentally good company that had bad news that will recover. Like, hey, we had a bad quarter. And you look at the company and go, hey, if Amazon had a bad quarter, that's a good time to buy. People
Yeah, I see
panic
what you're
sell
saying.
after earnings. They go, the earnings are down. If Amazon went down, and I told people like when Amazon was $85, I'm like, guys, you're never going to see Amazon at $100 at $85
Yeah,
again. That
Okay.
was what 2 years
Here,
ago.
how about this one now?
What did they do?
Celsius has gone up. They went from a $2 stock to earlier this year a $100 stock, and now it's down to 28.
That's a drink, right?
Yeah, energy drink.
Okay, so again, the question becomes: here's what I always ask people: is like, okay, who's drinking that?
A lot of people.
I mean,
They're
like,
pretty big at the gas stations and stuff.
So that'd be the thing. If you're seeing people buying it and using it, then I'd say it's fundamentally a good.
Well,
company,
Monster's number one.
But I also would look at the trend and go, do I want to risk buying halfway through this dip? You're halfway in. This could recover tomorrow, or that dip can continue.
So okay,
I'm
so-
looking at
so-
a trend. I'm looking at an untested region here. I'm looking at a trend. Well, okay, so I'm seeing a trend. Where's this price at here? This is
Like
16,
15,
16. And what are you at now? 28. I can see the stock
Going to
losing
17?
I can see the stock losing another $10 easily.
Okay, let me ask you this. So wouldn't you say if the stock has a upward trend, by the time you realize it's an upward trend, wouldn't you have already missed the gains?
Not necessarily.
How not?
Because
If the stock went up 10,
though,
if it went up 10% tomorrow,
right?
you could say, oh, it's still pretty cheap, close to this price, but it started an upward trend. But you're not going to say it's upward trend after one day of it going up. You're going to say it after 3 weeks when it's gone up 80%.
But that's part of your homework. That's part of your homework as an investor is to look at it and go, hey, I see this company. It's trending upwards. Is it overvalued? Is it overweight? And you can look at. See, you're looking at price. You're missing so many indicators here.
Well,
You
no,
should
PE ratio is the most
No,
important.
I'm even looking at the momentum of this, how. What am I thinking of? The volume. I mean, there's so many charts that you could stack onto this. So look at your, like right now. Can you pull up? You're in Robinhood. See if you can pull up the volume of the stock. So like if this stock, if the volume has been through the roof the last couple weeks, I'd say it's fundamentally, we're looking at, don't think about just that number. Think about the volume. So look at the volume.
Well, no, I look at things based off of forward earnings and how consistent they are with net income.
So look at
average volume, 7.6, and the volume 7.8. But you want like a year by year or something?
I want to pull up an advanced chart and see if you can pull up volume. See what candles you have here. You have volume candles, that'd be good. Technical, so pull up technicals or indicators. And
That's locked,
go to
sorry.
indicators. Moving average. Pull up moving average. So look at your moving average. So where are we at here? So I mean, look at your average. I would say.
Oh wait, here we go.
I mean, so look at that. I mean, like I look at that moving average and I go, this is on the downtrend, right? I mean, you could stack all these indicators. You could stack. Let's see what else you have on here. The RSI, for instance. Look at the RSI. RSI is probably blown out at this point. So you pull up RSI. So here's RSI, and your RSI is trending downward. It's a relative strength index. So if I find a stock and the RSI is trending upwards, I go, okay, I think we're good. But again, it depends on if I think you're more of a long-term investor. My horizons are always kind of short-term.
Kind of. I'm just based off of valuation. I don't say short-term or long-term because I'll sell it whether it's
what's long-term to you?
Yeah, exactly. That definition is also super subjective.
Well, and I think
because we think like long-term is like a year.
I mean,
or
even
two.
look at the PE.
It is though by definition. That's
here,
a tax.
This is a perfect example. Look at the PE and the price.
This is for Nvidia.
No, I'm saying like any stock. Look at the PE. Look at the PE.
Well, that's why this is what typically I would pay more attention to. What I'm doing right now with the stock price, I'm just doing that for us to look at.
Right.
But when I'm actually judging a stock, this is probably first or second most important thing in my eyes.
But also like Nvidia, my long-term horizon on Nvidia was like, damn, I should have gotten in at $80 when I was looking at Nvidia at $80. I'm like, this is So I look at it as a missed opportunity for me, but that's not to say it's done. But also, last time we were on, we were talking about this AI bubble and stuff like that. I would wait for that AI bubble to burst because one of the things NVIDIA is dealing with right now is they're at capacity. There's literally people like taking them out to dinner going, hey, can we have the chips? Can we have the cards? Like, hey, Zuckerberg's taking them out to dinner going, hey, man, I need 10,000 cards. So they're doing so well, but they're at capacity. So, like, how can they really do more if they're at capacity, right? I mean,
make their capacity bigger.
Right. That's not something that you can do overnight. That's not something you can be like, hey, just add another shift. Like they're at capacity. I mean, when you talk about a business like that, you talk about raw materials, like even like with cars and batteries and stuff like that. It's like, hey, we're buying all the cobalt we can. Like this is all we've got. There's all these rare earth metals when you come into play about chips.
NVIDIA's EPS is expected to grow huge next year, 2.8 to 4.
So, I mean, that would be the question is like, I would look at that and go.
Look at that revenue growth.
If things continue on the track they are in the world, I would say you're right. Or I would look at this and go, hey, if there's a market correction, everybody gets hit, right? So Estee Lauder is going to get hit and NVIDIA is going to be hit. I would be right now, if it were me, I'm sitting on the sidelines waiting for that hit.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
I'm going to get in on NVIDIA.
I'm buying more than NVIDIA.
That's pretty much what I'm doing. Now, this stock I think is easy money right now. This stock is down a little bit, and I think this stock is one of the best stocks you could buy.
I forget, what did they do?
ASML makes the...
Oh, they make the...
They make the machines that they sell these machines for $350 million to all the chip makers, and they're the only company that can make the...
Okay, so you're right. So right now we're saying NVIDIA, everybody needs capacity. So who? You're right. You take a step back and go, NVIDIA is at capacity. Who are we looking at? ASML. Perfect. But again, at any point, we could have the...
So here's the PE for the stock. It's down to 35 now after relatively that's average or on the cheaper side of things.
Okay.
And I just, they're the only ones that can make the technology that advanced. Like they can only, I think it's the AI chips.
So what would happen if somebody came out tomorrow and said, hey, by the way, we now make that same machine for half the price?
Well, it's possible, but it's very unlikely.
Right. But I'm saying what would happen to that stock?
It would go down a lot.
Be cut in half overnight.
But it's very unrealistic. It's almost impossible.
Okay.
Because the machines are insane. The machines cost so much money to make.
So again, I would look at that as something I would definitely consider buying into. Yeah, that's not something that it's not
it's
something
not
you build
easily
in your,
made.
That's something you build in your garage. No, I would agree that that.
You want to try it?
Okay, let's do it.
But
If we can make
but
that, we'll be trillionaires.
You know what that reminds me of like Boeing and stuff like that. Things are going great until
Oh, Boeing's a mess.
But I'm saying this is an advanced manufacturing of a highly complex machine, and then a door blows out and their stock goes in the toilet. Right?
I still think Bone's going to be a good buy. I think it's a good buy.
No, it's been too long.
If the company fundamentally can change direction, or if we
You've been saying that for a decade.
I don't
now.
think the government's going to let it fail, though.
That's possible.
I don't disagree with you because they are one of the biggest. I mean, again, going back to Trump, if you believe that Trump is a warmonger, then he's going to need a whole bunch of Boeing airplanes to go bomb brown children, right? So, I mean, if you believe those things, if you believe he's going to come round up Americans, you need airplanes for that. You need Predator drones and stuff, right? I mean, you got to have Predator drones flying around your neighborhood to go round up everybody. So if you believe that,
why isn't the stock going up then?
Right. Well, I mean,
It's just bad press,
we talked about this before about.
Bro, they got somebody killed like 2 months ago. It's
Well,
still,
that's what I'm saying is like they fundamentally have had a bad streak, but it's kind of like when again, it's a terrible thing to say, but when there is a school shooting, when there's a mass school shooting under Democratic president, guess what? All of the handgun manufacturers, Smith & Wesson, all those stocks pop.
right.
When we talk about going to war, I forget if it was Trump last time, he talked about going to war and everybody's stock popped. And then he talked about how Air Force 2 was going to cost, Air Force 1, the next generation, cost too much money, and Boeing stock tanked, and I bought the dip on that.
Look at this. Last time I bought it, 2020, 2021, I bought it 146, 224. I sold it at 237.
Good.
And what is it right now? It's way lower than that.
See? Because, again, I mean, that becomes the question is what do you see as a long-term
I think it's a
outlook?
good buy right now.
You've always said it, though. It hasn't done anything.
I would watch the company itself if the company makes changes to move towards a safer philosophy of building better airplanes. And
Okay, how you like that? How you going to argue against this?
no, you're right.
ASML, market share of 95%. That
Right.
means nobody can make those machines, and it's probably the
No,
most.
that means there's a whole bunch of people right now going, wow, if we built that machine, we could
There's a
take
ton of
half
market
the
share to
market
eat. Sure, it's possible.
There's a bunch of people in China right now going, man, if we could build that machine
They
for
can
half
get at least
that
40.
price,
Yeah, at least 40.
we can get half the market share. So, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you're gambling. Right now,
No.
things are good, but that could go away at any time. Make sure you put in a stop loss. I don't disagree. I don't disagree that fundamentally that's a good company, but I'm also saying
And okay,
that party could be over at any time.
okay, let's do this. Let's assume worst case scenario. Let's assume a competitor comes in and takes market share.
Right.
What happens now? Well, now they're going to make less money, right? But guess what? They're still going to be a dominant player in the industry, and guess what? This is one of the fastest growing industries, so they might not make as much money, but
what's going to happen when they report earnings? And they try to explain all this.
it's gonna be down.
You're on their earnings call going, oh,
Yeah.
everything's fine. But you go, oh, things are fine. But, oh, by the way, we missed our earnings by 18%.
okay, so the stock adjusts. Now we have a competitor, stock drops, whatever, 15%?
Okay, that's when you buy then.
Huh?
That's when you buy.
Well, that's if
Buy
that
'em
small
better.
chance happens. What if it doesn't happen? Right now, the stock's already down from over $1,000 to $660.
Okay.
Man, Boeing dropped 10 more
But
bucks.
my point is,
Fine.
okay, my point here's my point. Here's my point. EPS for this year is expected to be 20, next year 26. If a competitor came in and took market share and took money from them, that number would be smaller. Let's say it's 23, 22. So they're still making money and they're still in a growing industry where they're expected to grow 18%.
I don't disagree.
Yeah. So that's why I just feel like the risk to reward of
I
this
would say this is definitely a better decision than
Estee Lauder.
Yes. Their customers are not dying off. I agree.
Yes. One of my most bullish stocks right here. Other than that, I don't. What else is a good one?
For
We got 10, 15
what's on the
minutes. Do you
list?
want to spend the last 15 minutes talking about Trump?
Yeah. Oh, look up what's the Oklo, OKLO. Look at that one. Because that's
What?
one I've been looking at. I'm telling you,
And what do they do?
nuclear.
Nuclear power?
Yeah.
Engages development of fission reactors, provides clean energy through design and deployment of fast fission power
Is this the
plants.
one that is it Amazon was talking about partnering with them?
Yeah. What's the name? I think Sam. What's his name? I forgot the CEO's name. It's like Sam.
ChatGPT?
No, it's like
Jacob
Sam
Dewey.
Sam
Jacob.
Altman.
Sam Altman. Okay.
Yes.
That's the
Okay.
CEO.
So I would say that fundamentally, nuclear under a Trump administration, nuclear would be a good play because there is going to be, again, going back to the EVs earlier, going back to, how much energy AI and cloud storage and all these things take. Fundamentally, we cannot run on coal forever. We need to grow. We cannot put up enough windmills and solar panels. So nuclear is a good sector. I agree with you on that. I definitely would be keeping an eye on nuclear.
Yeah. And it's supposed to be the most efficient form of energy.
And
right?
so one of the things was we had this whole scare going back to my generation between Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island and now Fukushima. And
nuclear had like a bad rep.
we had a bad rap, and now we have a new generation, several generations later. I mean, I've said for years, you're eventually going to have what I call like the suitcase nuke that's going to power a neighborhood. And especially if people start, I mean, basically something the size of like a hot water heater. And that's what they're going toward because there's less possible, the ecological damage of a small reactor melting down. And these things aren't even water cooled; they're air cooled. The chance of a meltdown is very slim.
That's how powerful they are.
So these new generations, like basically every neighborhood would end up having this small nuclear reactor, and it would power the neighborhood.
And what would happen if it melted down or whatever?
Yeah, nothing. It'd be cool.
Well, what about the big?
I mean, it's gonna be
it's small. I mean,
it's not like a bomb.
How big were the other ones that causes Chernobyl and all that?
So I mean, there's a whole thing about rods and uranium and meltdown, and it's a whole thing.
There's some extra stuff in
Go
it.
watch the Chernobyl documentary. But again,
Watch the new movie Oppenheimer. Great movie.
well, that's a different kind of use of nuclear, but the same idea. So I mean, again, but yes, I mean, a meltdown was because the water. It was always because of the water failure. Fukushima, they had the with the typhoon or whatever. But those days are over of needing water and having meltdowns, and that's kind of that doesn't happen anymore. Is the idea. So yes, I think nuclear is definitely a good sector to keep an eye on. I think with the Trump victory, and people like Elon. I mean, again, it's interesting because Elon may be pro-nuclear and RFK is like, hell no. So I don't know. Interesting question. But I think this administration would be very nuclear friendly. We haven't built a new reactor in this country in like 30 years, and we just now are starting to build like 2 or 3.
Yeah, I heard that like last year we started building some more.
Right, a couple. But again, it's one of those things where it's a multi-billion-dollar investment. So it's not something that, again, like on a dime kind of thing.
Designs and develops fission power plants to provide reliable and commercial-scale energy to customers in the U.S. It also provides used nuclear fuel recycling services.
So one of the ideas would be imagine like Amazon or somebody had a server facility. You'd literally have a small nuclear reactor next door powering the server farm. So I mean that's kind of the idea. Is it's way more efficient to have power on site, like at a steel mill or at a data center or something like that. It makes way more sense to have the power on site as opposed to bringing it in over high tension lines from half the state away.
I would be interested. Wait, is this? Oh, it's just for renewable energy. I thought this was like for like pretty much Florida's or California's. Next Era is the largest publicly traded company involved in nuclear energy.
So you're talking about Next Era. What's their ticker?
They have 2 tickers, but
NEE.
Yeah.
I would say again, I would look at the sector and go, they took a hit. I would say that's a fundamentally. I would dig into it, but I'd say fundamentally that looks like a good buy.
I thought this was like an all-around energy company. I didn't know it was just for renewable.
And I think when they first started, they were like, looking more into like EVs, electrical, and all that. They kind of switched.
What does the other ticker say? NEP.
I mean, you could have two. You could have
engages in acquisition of contracted clean energy projects with long-term cash flow. It owns interest in wind and solar projects. Some stocks have 2 tickers for stupid reasons.
So NEP is the one that does that. But yeah, the other one, Next Era, I mean NEE, that sounds like a good fundamentally.
Look at that stock. While Next Era Energy is primarily known for extensive renewable energy portfolio, it also operates nuclear power plants. That's interesting. I mean, again, I don't know. With stuff like this, it's like what if it takes over 10 years before we make progress in nuclear energy?
That's a good long-term buy then.
I guess. Not if you don't make money for 10 years, it's not.
I mean, Oklow's what, 25 a share? Next Era,
but they don't
75, so.
What's the market cap on this company? $3 billion, and they don't make any money. You see that? I mean, that's not horrible, but it's just, I don't like paying billions of dollars for something I'm not making any money on.
Look at the trends. Look at the trend.
The trend is your friend.
No, it's not. Otherwise, we'd be millionaires from GameStop if that was the case. Otherwise, these stocks would have never gone down if the trend was your friend.
But again, you're following the trend, but that was an anomaly, and you know that. I mean, again, you're following the trend. You know that's an anomaly because you follow the news. You're looking at a trend, but you're saying, why did this happen? I remember every day of GameStop going, why didn't I buy in? There's no way this happens again tomorrow. And it happened again tomorrow from $10 to $200. And every day I was like, this is it. Right. And then the next day it went up another 50%. But again, we knew that trend was. It wasn't. There's people like, oh, GameStop's going to go to $1 million. I mean, like we knew that trend. We knew that show was going to be over soon.
How did you know? If the trend was showing it was kept going up?
Because there was no way that would get. Because it was an anomaly. Because we knew it was a manipulation. That we knew it was an anomaly. It wasn't based on fundamentals. So
nobody went to GameStop.
Nobody went to GameStop. It was an anomaly. We knew there's not. Drive by the GameStop. I was literally by the GameStop. I'm like, there's nobody here.
So you're saying
that's
that's different from a company like this that's up 4,000%. You're saying this is not like a GameStop.
Well, but Sezzle, they literally just give money and then take it back and then make profit. They don't have to worry about. I mean, we know that Sezzle makes sense because people are literally financing their Starbucks when things are expensive.
Financing their Starbucks.
You could
Well,
go
like finance.
You can go on Grubhub and finance your meal over 4. I mean, no joke.
No, you know what?
Finance your meal over 4 payments.
I'm actually upset about last time I went to Starbucks. Somehow the price of a black coffee went from it's been $3 for the longest time. Last time it was $5 for a black coffee. I said, how is this possible?
Right. So you just buy a bag and you take it at home. I mean, and that's what you see, like a Starbucks. You go, hey, Starbucks is fundamentally a good company, but if they get so expensive, what are people going to do? I'm just going to make coffee at home. So, I mean, that's the whole thing.
That's an example, or like that or Nike is an example of where I was saying where if the company has a setback, if they're this established, you don't normally see them fail.
Right. No, I don't disagree. I don't say Starbucks is going anywhere, but also Nike's a perfect example of like, hey, I'll buy my kid a $100 pair of Nikes. Am I going to buy him a $200 pair of Nikes?
Okay.
If they become fundamentally overpriced, like, hey, that's cool that your Jordans, you cool Jordans. I'm not paying $200 for them.
Okay, here, let me ask you this. So let's say Disney's
always pulling up Disney.
Disney's net income, right? Huge drop. You would have said this is a bad trend right here.
Well, no. Okay, so we can look at why was that.
Now that's bad fundamentals.
And that would have been a good time to buy. We talked about buying Disney and Carnival Cruise. That was during the pandemic was a perfect time to buy Carnival Cruise and Disney and anybody Six Flags or anybody like that because we knew fundamentally the lockdowns wouldn't last forever and they would recover because they're Disney. So
no, but I'm saying right here. I'm saying would you buy in 2022?
I would. So you have to stack these things. You have to look at it and go, Disney fundamentally a good company, but right now, they have I mean, again, look at the trend. We assume the trend is they're going to recover, but we also know that their ticket prices are outrageous. People are like, I can't pay $1,500 a day to take my kids to Disney anymore. I mean, that's the whole thing. Is that fundamentally. People want to go to Disney. I don't disagree, but if it's too expensive, just like the Nikes, like that's cool. We love Disney, but I can't afford it. So I mean, that becomes a thing.
So is this bad fundamentals?
Fundamentally, I think when you look at that chart, I say their revenue should recover. But then I would look at the company and go, what is the company? I would Google the company and go, here's everybody complaining about ticket prices and the Euro. There's a whole thing about Euro Disney, like. Euro Disney failed and stuff like that. So I would look at the company fundamentally and go, are they doing, just like Estee Lauder? Okay, Estee Lauder looks like a good deal. Are they doing anything that could cause it to pop next year? Is Disney doing anything right now?
They got the Marvel movies coming up.
I'm pretty sure they are. I think they got a new CEO or they got a turnaround plan.
I think Bob is about to. No, Bob leaves. I think.
So you Google Estee Lauder, everybody's threatening to sue them, and they're talking about slowdowns. I mean, like everything about you Google them, everything about them. Is why
they are getting a new CEO.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is a possibility.
Yeah, but when they go with new CEO, it's the same person basically.
No, it's not.
I mean,
they're already in the company though.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that normally means the company's going to do something different. Same thing with Nike. There's a bunch of companies that just got new CEOs in the last couple months.
Right. Nike's not going to shift to making tractors. So I mean,
yeah.
But I mean, that's the whole thing with Estee Lauder is somebody young comes in and goes, "Hey, we got to court Taylor Swift."
Or same thing with Disney. Disney is another good example. They brought
2026.
They brought in the new CEO.
Well, this new CEO was from Hammond. He was from here.
Who?
The new CEO.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Bob Ike?
No, not Bob.
The guy before
new
that.
One. So Bob is kind of like
the new
placeholder until 2026.
But the new one is the old one.
Right. They brought him back, but the guy that
he's going to be replaced.
Name, but he was from Hammond. But
you're saying?
Yeah. So Bob Iger
this is the second time they're changing it now.
Yes. Yeah. Because again, I would look at that and go, that's concerning as a company that you're playing CEO.
Roulette like every single 2-3 years because Bob just came back. What last year? Didn't already replace him 3 years later.
Happened.
James Gorman.
That was Robert Chapek. Robert Chapek is from Hammond, so he was the CEO. Iger retired, Bob Chapek took over,
I
Iger
got
came
you.
back in. Again, that's concerning as a company. I'm like, do I want to take that gamble right now?
But that's what I'm saying is when you get a new CEO, that can have a huge change on the company.
For the better or for the
Yeah.
worse.
Right. So it doesn't mean it's going to be the same.
He could come in and go, hey, nothing but woke Disney movies and woke characters. And then
I'm talking
people
about
are
more
like,
for
we're out.
Estee Lauder though. It's gonna be the same.
Yeah, I don't
But
see.
why would it be the same if for other companies it changes?
I don't think it's gonna be a big difference.
I mean,
I don't know.
it
I don't
could-
agree with that.
I would start looking into that CEO and going, hey, does this CEO offer anything that could revolutionize Estee Lauder? But again, there's a lot to overcome.
If
You know what they should have did 10 years ago? They should have got Rihanna instead of Rihanna starting her own Fenty. They
Yeah.
should have collaboration with them.
Right.
I think that what this company did $15 billion in revenue. I think this stock is going to turn around. I don't think this company is going out of business.
Okay.
Let's put a pin in it, and we'll put a calendar note to revisit this a year from now and see if you're right. I mean, you could be right, but I look at it and go, their customers are dying off. And also remember, going back to like Sears and Macy's, this is the kind of stuff you go to Macy's and buy Estee Lauder, and there's no Macy's and
True.
Sears and whatever.
So
J.C. Penney's.
is Ulta Beauty? So Ulta Beauty is a stock I own.
Okay.
Is this a
They're standalone stores.
They're in Targets.
They're in Targets. And again, when I went to Target, we went to Ulta and smelled Miley Cyrus or whoever. I mean, that sounded horrible, but we went and smelled her. But again, I didn't see Estee Lauder. I didn't see Golden Girls perfume. I saw Miley Cyrus and J-Lo.
Okay, so what's your perspective on this stock?
I think Ulta is positioning itself. Again, if Ulta is making a deal with somebody like Target, my wife goes there every day. So I'm like looking at that. Ulta's in a good position.
But isn't Estee Lauder in Kohl's? Or is that a different company?
He just said Kohl's.
Again-
He just compared Kohl's to Target.
right.
That's
but
who,
again,
that's who they that's who
go
they
to
partnered
Kohl's
with.
and tell me if there's anybody under 50 years old there, right? I mean, like my wife was there yesterday, like everybody's 80 years old. So that becomes a question. It's like, where are young people shopping? They're shopping
Target.
online, and they're shopping at Target and Walmart and stuff
Okay,
like
so
that.
when you see Ulta like this,
Yeah.
how do you what do you
I look at Ulta as fundamentally, I see them at Target. I see their standalone stores. I go, Ulta is a company that if I would say Ulta has a better future than Estee Lauder.
Yeah, I agree.
So that at the very least is one of my boxes, of one of many boxes I would check before I bought into them. And I would say Ulta fundamentally, it looks like.
So look at that PE right now. It's almost at it's the
So
cheapest
if you
it's been.
ask me pick between Estee Lauder and Ulta, I'm Ulta all day.
Yeah.
Because I see them having a future. Because I literally see them at Target. I see people
Yeah.
in Ulta buying their product yesterday. So I don't know anybody about Estee Lauder, since the Golden Girls. So.
But I mean, this is in 2021. It was roughly the same price as where it's at today.
right.
It's in almost 3 years now.
Okay.
Consistency.
You see. So I'm pretty sure it's not. It hasn't grown because I think their growth slowed down.
So to look for a buying opportunity.
See, so net income has been. That's why the stock
Okay.
has not been. They stopped growing net income, and it's been
So
flat.
that would be a company that I'd fundamentally wait for bad earnings. I'd wait for bad news to buy in on them. If they miss earnings, that's a good time to buy, because fundamentally they're a good company.
So you would say with what they have going on now, even though the stock's been flat for 3 years, you'd say this is not bad enough news.
What's bad about Ulta? What's their bad news? They're flat.
The bad news is flat.
That's consistency. So that's what I'm saying is I would look for a buying opportunity.
But that's why the stock is trading down so much. Here.
right.
But
I
you
would- I
would
would-
say it's not down enough.
I would say it's not down enough. I would wait for buying. I would wait for them to miss earnings.
So what if they come back in the next couple of months and they say, oh, our trajectory is going up and now net income is going up,
Right.
and the stock goes up 15%.
Right. Then you say you missed it. So I mean that's the whole thing is, but you're okay. We missed the boat. I mean I would say I would wait for them to miss earnings and then buy in. If we do, I mean again we can't buy everything, right? We can't buy everything.
Yeah.
We can't win them all. We have to decide. You pulled up Meta.
Did you buy this stock?
Let me tell you a story about Meta.
We got 5 minutes.
Facebook IPO'd at $40.
Mhm.
I bought Meta at $25.
Mhm.
And I told everybody on my Facebook feed, and someday I'm going to pull it up. I said, guys, Meta is your play. At $25, Meta is your play. And I sold it at $100 to pay for my wedding, and I never bought back in. So again, I
still
could've-
never bought back in?
I never bought back in.
Not even here?
No, but I'm
Now,
saying
that's my biggest regret, not buying it when like Zuckerberg was going through all the legal stuff.
I was buying
But
it
I'm saying
all day.
Meta was my play, and I told everybody. I told Tesla the same thing. I said, guys, people are laughing at me. They're like, "Oh, Tesla's never going to beat Ford and stuff like that." Like, it's not the point about numbers, but and Tesla's blown Ford out of the water. Ford is again a consistent company. Has been $40 forever, or whatever it's been. But again, Meta, yeah, I got in at $25 and said, "This is your play."
So, but here's my question. So at this point, for a matter of several months, with this stock, anything under $150, why didn't you? How did you look at that at the time?
I actually did. I played earnings on Meta a couple times. I'll give you a perfect example. When we bought my son an Oculus for Christmas, and everybody I knew was getting Oculus, I go, this is a reason to buy Meta because everybody's buying an Oculus. And then they missed earnings, and then I got blown out. But again, it's like I look at it and go, everybody's buying an Oculus. Facebook's a play.
But okay, so
And
you did buy it. You did buy it.
I bought options. I played earnings, maybe last year or something, and they missed earnings. I forget what happened. Probably, I forget what happened. But
you didn't buy shares.
I didn't buy shares. I bought options on. I assume that they're going to have a great quarter because everybody is buying the Oculus. Is it Oculus? Am I right?
Yeah.
The Oculus 2 or whatever it was.
Maybe Oculus 2.
They bought them, but they changed it. I think it's MetaQuest.
Well,
MetaQuest
I'm saying
now.
the
But yeah,
metaverse.
they used to be the.
But again,
Oculus,
like
yeah.
everybody I knew was buying an Oculus. Everybody's getting the metaverse. I'm like, okay, he's going to kill on earnings because everybody just bought their kid one of these for Christmas, and he missed earnings because he was way over leveraged in the metaverse.
Yes.
And then
that was back here or something.
Okay, so that was like 2 years ago, like 2 Christmases ago or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, like, I looked at that and go, hey, everybody's buying an Oculus. To me, he's gonna beat earnings and he's gonna jump 20%. So
But you didn't. But with the stock down this
you're
much.
right. Yeah. Twist that knife. Yes, Chuck. You should have bought stock
No,
instead
I'm
of playing
saying-
options. You're right.
No,
I don't
I'm
disagree with you.
saying what was your like just in terms of
I
like
wanted to catch the pop. I wanted to catch
I got
that pop of earnings because remember when I'm buying options, we're 100x leverage. So if he goes up 20%, I mean I'm making a killing on those options. But it didn't work out. Like I said, I mean his again when you're buying options, if my time horizon is I've got a month-long option and he recovers 2 years later, that doesn't help me at all, right?
Right. So
my option's blown out.
So why not buy the options and the shares so that way you can win short term or long term?
You're right. You're right. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. You're right. Perfect. You make a perfect example, and that's something that's why we learn these things, right?
No,
Because I just wanted to go for the quick pop on. I looked at the Oculus. I'm like, hey, Oculus, we're going to make a bunch of money. Earnings are going to go up. Buy the options, and I played it wrong.
But okay, my main thing is like, so earlier you said that when the trend is going down, that pretty much means you're bearish.
But there was something. If Estee Lauder came out and said we made a deal with J-Lo, it's not going to happen automatically. Like with the Oculus, he came up with a product. If everybody I know is lining up to go to Estee Lauder counter at Macy's to buy J-Lo, I go in the next quarter they're going to report killer earnings because everybody's buying J-Lo. So everybody was buying the Oculus. So I looked at that as a catalyst for a recovery. They had a catalyst, which was everybody buying the Oculus. I said, okay, this is the catalyst. Everybody's buying Oculus, renewing interest in Facebook. They're going to pop. And I missed the timing. I was right, but my time horizon was wrong. And that's what sucks about options. You're right. If I would have bought stock and held it, I would have doubled my money. I bought options.
No, you would have done more than that. The stock was 100. You would have 6x.
I would have 6x. You're right. You just keep twisting the knife. Thank you.
No,
I'm not.
I'm not.
But you're right. Again, I have. So fundamentally, think about that. My opinion on Facebook, going back to when it was $25, was fundamentally correct. My time horizon on it was wrong, and that's what. So it doesn't. I could be right about Facebook. I was right at $25. I was right about the Oculus, but my time horizon was wrong because I bought the wrong vessel. I bought options instead of stock. I should have held my stock. There's a lot of you can spend your whole life in the market going, I should have done this. I should have bought Estee Lauder before they announced this deal with Miley Cyrus. You're right.
But that's what my point isn't. Oh, you should have bought stock. My point is just how do you distinguish between this versus a company like Estee Lauder, where if they both are going through a downtrend, and you say the downtrend
because I saw a market, I saw a fundamental shift. I saw everybody going to the toy store. Everybody was talking about the Oculus. So I mean, that was the thing is just like Bitcoin. Now everybody's talking about it, but everybody was talking about the Oculus, but those earnings aren't reflected until the next earnings call, right?
Right, yes.
So everybody buys an Oculus, and then 3 months later goes, hey, by the way, I sold millions of Oculuses, and we killed on revenue. We killed on earnings. Because everybody bought an Oculus, and everybody went and spent $50. I mean, again, you buy an Oculus, and the games are like $40. So again, I buy my kid an Oculus. I spend hundreds of dollars on games on the metaverse. And he goes in and goes, by the way, we sold $200 Oculuses. Everybody bought $200 on the average buy was like $200 in games. We killed on earnings, and then he doubles overnight. That's what I was expecting. So I saw the catalyst of the Oculus.
And Estee Lauder doesn't have a catalyst.
What's their catalyst, right?
They don't
If
have
they
one.
announce a J-Lo, then I go, okay, buy Estee Lauder before earnings. Because they're going to go, oh, by the way, we make – but again, even because they announced the deal with J-Lo, it may be
Stock's
6
going
months
up.
before the product hits the market.
Sure.
And then it may be another 6 months before they actually show a profit on that.
Does anybody have any – I have to leave in like 5 minutes, but does anybody have any experience with this stock?
Palantir. Again, are we talking about Palantir again?
200% in the last year. Man, what did this stock just do this week?
So Palantir
40% in a week.
again.
That's crazy.
Palantir during the meme stock thing. I was playing Palantir.
Hey, you want to see this?
I think we both bought it.
When
At
did
like $9
When
or
did I sell
something.
the stock?
$9.
$9.
Right. I'm saying I was playing Palantir at $8 and $9 during the pandemic.
Yeah, I think me
And
too,
they
too.
were doing stuff. They were doing government work and stuff like that. So again, time horizon. We all looked at Palantir and said, "This is a good company." We just didn't hold long enough. I could have bought 100 shares of Palantir and held it at $9.
Well, see, I sold all my like Kathy Wood stocks, anything that was like, had potential.
Right.
During this time when everything crashed, I pretty much sold all of it and just said, I don't care if I lost money. I just want to get out of this and get into consistent stocks. I don't want to be in these risky plays.
Right. Like Kathy Wood, ARK and ARQ and all stuff.
Let's see how that's doing.
I bought in all that stuff. And again, look, they all recovered, I bet.
Well,
Did ARK
I don't think
recover?
she.
We're waiting on the internet.
No,
So
see.
ARK didn't. So again,
She like ran after. Like she just like disappeared. As soon
But
as
that
it
was
dropped.
one of those. ARK was one of those things that I called wrong. I said ARK and ARQ and all the that's an easy play. Buy the ETFs, hold them, let the ETF be a.
When did you say that? You said that right here?
I bought probably. Well, no, like in 20.
Or did you say it right here?
I know. I probably said it right around here. Right around
Oh, you said buy it there?
Yeah.
Well,
Again, I called that one wrong. Because for me personally, I was like, I'm going to hold the ETFs because Kathy Woods was in the news. Everybody's like, Kathy Woods is like the next, Oracle.
Here's another stock I lost a ton of money on. Maybe we should scroll down to see how much I sold it.
Block. Oh yeah.
I got killed in this one too.
Right. I mean,
let's see here. I'm scared to look. Market sell $60 and it's 70. Okay, so that was I sold. Well, that was only a year ago. That was a year and a half ago.
so again, it's not. You could buy a stock and go, hey, I made $10 on it, but at the same time, you made $10 on Block, and then Amazon's up twofold. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole thing. Is like we only have so much money to put in the market, and that becomes a question. So.
You want to talk about Trump real quick?
If you want to do it in 30 seconds.
Well, Trump won.
Trump won.
Trump won. So fundamentally, it is good for the market. But again, the market is overvalued. So I think that there is a party. There's a party, and it could last up until January. But if you're asking me right now, my short-term horizon is bearish in the market. And hopefully one day I'll come in here and go like, boys, I made $1 million trading the market.
Okay,
Thanks, Trump. Thanks, Daddy Trump.
I agree that I'm somewhat bearish for a short-term correction. However, let's say that short-term correction happens so let's say we have bearish catalyst.
So we have two things. We can either make money on the drop or we can buy the dip, right?
Yeah.
So we should plan on both of those. We should be cash heavy, just like our buddy Warren Buffett right now. We should be cash heavy. Right now I'm going to short the market. My goal right now, I'm going to tell you right now, not financial advice. Short the market, make money, use that money to buy the dip. And fundamentally good companies like Amazon and Tesla and stuff like that.
Okay.
That would be my play right now if you're asking me. My 6-month horizon is make money on the dip, buy the dip, and profit.
Okay, but let's say this. So let's say we're expecting a bearish catalyst, a bearish downward trend in the next couple of months.
Right.
At the same time, aren't we also expecting the Fed to keep cutting rates? And how I said, I think not only do they already have those plans, but Trump's probably going to make them even more.
Okay. You do your own homework on this. I was watching something the other day where the guy claimed, and it was Ray Dalio or somebody claimed, that one of the catalysts is when the Fed starts cutting rates.
Mm-hmm.
He specifically said the second rate cut. What just happened? We had the second rate cut.
Yeah, okay.
He specifically mentioned the second rate cut. He said that when because remember, when you start cutting rates, it is fundamentally it's government fundamentally affecting the markets.
Mm-hmm.
So in his mind, again, not financial advice, he said one of the catalysts for a market correction is those rate cuts.
For a market crash,
Yes.
don't they normally say the other way around because you're tightening the economy when you raise rates?
And so again, that's why it's an interesting philosophy. And if he can show it, he said the last 5 times they cut rates twice, we had a correction. I mean,
Okay.
again, maybe it's correlation, maybe it's causation. I don't know.
If money is cheaper,
right,
that should be a positive catalyst for the economy.
the idea should be that people should put money in the market. Yes.
Now, the backwards thing to me when I run these scenarios in my head is like, so it makes money cheaper, and it should
But it's
push
cheaper for the banks. It's
for people.
When I bought my car, I actually talked to the dealer. I talked to the salesman about this. He says when they cut rates, it takes 6 months to make it to us.
Is that true?
Yes. I mean, again, this is anecdotal, and I asked him point blank. I said, "We just cut rates. How are things?" He said, "It takes 6 months for us to see it."
Well, not like when they cut rates.
So I could buy a new car in like June.
Well, okay.
Then, right. If you're waiting, like I said, I had 300,000 miles on my car. I was like, I'm waiting for rate cuts. I'm waiting for good deals. I'm waiting for 0%.
Okay.
And then I couldn't wait anymore. And that's again, I got a good deal.
But when they cut rates, the brokerages automatically change your interest yield down.
It doesn't happen. It's not like the gas prices. I mean, it does fundamentally take time for it to trickle down to the rest of the world. And then the average person that's not watching the markets like you, if I went to somebody right now and said, "Hey, tell me about the rate cuts," are they going to know? I mean,
probably not.
They're not going to know until there's a giant gorilla that says 0% financing at their Honda dealership. They go, "Oh, the rates must be down now," right?
Mm-hmm.
And that takes a few months. So that's what I'm saying is that fundamentally you're not going to see the effects of these rate cuts for 6 more months. So even like let's say my time horizon is right on this one. We're going to have a market correction now, and then the after effects of the rate cut are the catalyst for the recovery in 6 months.
Sure.
So
now the other thing I saw a graph of was I forgot the exact percentage, but the point was the majority of the time on election years the market is crashing in August, September, and that time frame. This year it didn't. This was the September October time frame. This was one of the only times where we had an upward market. So it's kind of like is it pushing it to another month? Where
I also think there's so much government manipulation right now. There's so much, as I call it, the voodoo economics. There's so much going on that I think that imagine if my team is in office and I'm like, guys, we got to just keep things, because if the average person is they care about their food prices. They care about how much it costs to go to the grocery store. They don't care about these issues like abortion and stuff like that. Fundamentally, people care about the bigger issues. Like at the end of the day, it's like, do I choose abortion or do I choose cheaper prices? Like I got to feed my family.
A lot of people choose abortion.
Well, how'd that work out? How'd that work out for them, right? I mean,
I was saying that the main 3 that everyone cares about is going to be the economy, how the economy's going.
Jobs, prices.
Not for females.
Well, and so again,
most people care about 3 things.
There wasn't enough for them to vote for Kamala, right? So
no,
the economy,
there wasn't.
Border, what's going on?
The border, right?
And what's the third one?
Maybe crime and safety.
Crime and safety, right?
Those are the top 3.
So there's a lot of people that at the end of the day, everybody told me, "Oh, I can't vote for Trump." I think a lot of them went in that booth. There's nobody but them and God. They voted for Trump because they said, I need cheaper prices, right?
Really?
All these women with the pink hats, I think half of them went in there and voted for Trump because they're like, I can't afford groceries.
Do you think Joe Biden voted for Trump?
She wore red. I mean,
well, he saw Biden said there's a tweet that said like Biden went to sleep at like 9 at night.
But okay, but again, fundamentally, yes. So if my team's in power and I go, look, I just got to kick this can long enough. I got to keep prices. I mean, gas is relatively cheap and all these things. Like, if things were bad going into this election, they were sunk. Their goal is to kick this can down, do whatever we need to do to manipulate the market so that come election day, there's a good economy.
Mm-hmm.
So, every article was food prices going down. It was 0.2%, which is nothing. But again, that's the big headline. And if you didn't read past the headline, which 85% of people don't, they go, oh, food prices are down.
But that's something that you can't fake because people know what stuff costs. Because if you go out and buy food at a restaurant or the store, it doesn't matter what the article says.
But again, the newspaper told you food. Like, well, maybe it's my fault that food prices are down. Again, we have a media that gaslights us.
My question is, how do you think the call went when they told Joe Biden that he wasn't going to be the nominee this election?
I honestly don't think he knew. If you're asking me honestly, I think the dude went to bed on a Sunday, and I think he woke up.
I think it was decided that he wasn't going to run last
Swear
year.
to God, I think he woke up to a press release saying he's not running.
You don't think they called him and said, Joe, you're not going to get the job?
I think Pelosi, Obama, the whole crew sat him
DNC.
down and said, you're not running again. And he said no. And no joke, I think he woke up to a press release saying, I'm not running again.
And I think that conversation was had last year sometime.
What?
And finally-
No, it happened.
No.
No, we know for sure it happened. It happened right after the debate. And he kept saying, no, I'm in the game.
He's not stepping down because I saw an interview with him and he said, no, I'm not stepping down. And the interview guy he said, what if they ask you to step down? He says, no. He says, that's not what we're doing.
So, and they looked at it and said, we can't win with Joe. And
Which looking back, who
but
knows?
again, it's just like with you playing stocks. Like think of all these politicians as stocks. Like, hey,
Yeah.
we don't think we can win on Joe. Let's put our money on Kamala.
Yeah.
And again, we had to put our money on Kamala because that's the way that the election rules work. They would have had to start fundraising over again. So it's like, let's gamble on Kamala. It didn't pay off. I think they were going to lose regardless. I was just listening to a podcast on the way here. Saturday Night Live last night. Bill Burr said, and I agree with him. The minute you get shot and you survive, you win the election. And I said that the minute the man said fight, 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 I said, dude won the election. There's nothing you can do
Hopefully.
to come back from that, right? I mean, and that's the whole thing is like I said that the day he had the bloody ear. I said, dude won the election right now.
Yeah.
So, and again, at the end of the day, our goal as Americans, and this is something I'll be on the radio here, I'm going to talk about this, like our goal as Americans should say, look, the other side won. We're not happy about it, but at the end of the day, we all want good things for our kids.
How about this quick question? Do you think the divisiveness in the country this time is going to be worse or better than how it was the first time he was president?
My hope is that this team, my hope is that RFK, everybody makes fun of RFK, everybody makes fun of Elon. My hope is, like RFK, for instance, RFK is going to make decisions that are going to benefit our children positively. Mm-hmm. He's going to start pulling fluoride. He's going to start looking into food dyes. There's all these things. You can make fun of the dude. Like, people make fun of Elon all they want, but the dude is doing good things. Mm-hmm. It's like people make fun of the Cybertruck, whatever, but the dude is going to do. I think RFK, make all the jokes you want, and on the back end, they can go, man, RFK was right. He pulled chemicals out of our food. Or they're talking about not having the revolving door between Wall Street and the bureaucracy.
Yes.
And so the pharmaceutical companies, there's this revolving door. And that was I found that out under Bush Jr., under the Bush W., under the Republicans. It's like these parties have these revolving doors with Wall Street, with pharmaceuticals. Mm-hmm. And if he can do those things, I think everybody would come together. Most people would go, look, I don't like Trump, but they did good things. They benefited society. There's people that told me that Trump was going to disband the EPA and people were going to throw couches in the lake.
Well,
it's like, but what if he does good things? Can you acknowledge that he did good things?
Right. I don't think they can. But
some people will, but some people won't. Right.
I think that's one of the worst things going on in government is how you're saying, where the government agencies have people running them that also have different interests at stake, like they're in the food industry or the pharmaceuticals or they're in the environmental industry.
Can you imagine,
whatever.
like, you leave government and somebody pays you $500,000 to speak?
Yeah.
Like that's a payoff. That's that should, just like Pelosi shouldn't be making $1 million a week insider trading.
Yeah.
Like, this whole system needs to be broken up. I don't care who does it. I don't know that Trump can do it. I think people like RFK, I think, Elon's talking to Ron Paul. It's like, man, Ron Paul's 90-something years old. This is the last chance I'm ever going to have to get Daddy Dr. Paul into the White House. I'll take it, right? I mean, that's the whole thing as a libertarian. Like, Dr. Paul in the White House is the greatest thing that could have ever happened in my mind. I don't care in what capacity. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that Trump puts his rhetoric aside and says, hey, I won. I'm a lame duck. I don't have to run again. We can just focus on doing things. And hopefully it's good things. And hopefully all these people are like, Project 2025 says we're going to get rid of overtime and Social Security. And
from the very beginning, he's only said that he doesn't even know what it is. He has no interest in pursuing it.
He does, but he does, but yes, he has no interest in pursuing it. But again, it's kind of like if somebody comes up with a good idea, just kind of like how Kamala was stealing all of his good ideas about not taxing overtime. It's like, if it's a good idea, it's a good idea.
Right, just do it. It doesn't matter.
So I'm sure his people are going through Project 2025 and going, hey, no tax on overtime or whatever. I'm sure that there are good things in there, and there are probably bad things in there.
I don't even know what it is.
But again, everybody and nobody's read it. I mean, that's why I was joking earlier. Page 1 of Project 2025 says you should read it first before you comment on social media about it, because I've seen cliff notes, I've seen bullet points. I've not read the whole thing, but I've seen enough to go, look, there's good stuff and there's stuff that I'm like, that's kind of
where did that come from? So that's
the Heritage Foundation. Yeah. Again, it has nothing to do with Trump. It's Heritage Foundation, but every everybody that runs for office. That was one of the criticisms of Kamala. She didn't even have a platform for a while. It's like, dude, what are you running on besides just I'm Kamala? And so that's the whole thing, is that both sides have a Project 2025 every election cycle. There are people that say, hey, we're going to support you. And, this is what we'd like to see you do. This is not, Project 2025 is nothing new. This has gone back hundreds of years. Just the media was trying to scare you and is saying, if you elect Trump, he's gonna have an app on your uterus or something. It's just nonsense. That's like, like Trump does not care about your menstrual cycle. I mean, again, he said it's not my problem, which is what I want to see more of from anybody in Washington going, it's not my problem, states' rights.
Yeah.
If you don't like what your state, just like with selling weed or abortions or selling fireworks. Yeah. Again, that's the joke, is here in Indiana and Illinois. You'll go there for abortions and come here for fireworks or whatever. I mean, again, go there, buy weed, get an abortion, come back here, get fireworks.
Yeah.
It's a states' rights issue. If you don't like the way, if you don't like Indiana,
you got 50 states to choose from.
Right, you have 50 changes. And again, that's the whole idea, is like instead of Washington regulating, let 10 states do it, like the EV mandate. Let California do it. Yeah. Go, hey, that was a good idea.
Then you got lots of options while you're still in the U.S.
Right, but again, it gives you 50 different people to make 50 different decisions, and then somebody will come out on top, and everybody will go, hey, California was right about this one. We should go that route.
Exactly.
Just like legalization of weed. It started with a couple of states, and now half the states have it.
Yep.
Or in Indiana's case, it was the constitutional carry and stuff like that. One state did it. Like, okay, it wasn't the end of the world. Other states like, that was a good idea. Let's do it.
Yeah.
But again,
that's a great perspective.
I would much rather, instead of government telling me this is how it's going to be no matter what, I would much rather 50 states make decisions. I lived in Illinois for a while. I didn't like it. I moved back to Indiana, right? I mean, it's like I didn't like their politics. I didn't like the way they did things. I had the option of moving back here. Mm-hmm. I have the option of moving south or north or west. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like that's what's beautiful about states' rights, is if I don't like my state's laws, I can move next door.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I think we need to wrap it up there because it's time for me to go.
Yeah, so that concludes episode 60 of Stock Talk with Josh.
And Chuck.
And Niko.
All right, I guess. But yeah, have a good one. This episode will probably be out on Monday.
Okay.
It better be, because the market is going to collapse any day. We want it to be out.
Exactly.
We want these people to hear this.
All right, we got you.
Don't buy Bitcoin. It's too late.
Too late. Buy Boeing.
Yeah, don't buy Shiba either.
Buy Oklo, all those
all in on
nuclear
Doge.
stocks.
All in on Doge.
And
don't buy Doge to $1.
Don't buy Estee Lauder either, because they're not even at Target.
Yeah, exactly. But y'all have a good one out there, and to greener days ahead. Bye-bye.